Okay guys, so in the last video we did something really interesting. We figured out how we can connect Excel to CoinMarketCap so that when we go right click refresh, data is automatically just updated and populated for all cryptos, for all prices to the dollar. And the end goal was to build something like this where we click on a crypto kitty cat and it just updates all the price movements and tells us what our portfolio is now worth. So in this video, what we're going to do is just continue on building that. I'm going to show you how to get from the data side to the actual information and meaty reporting side. But first, let's roll intro. Okay, so by now, hopefully you have an Excel tool where you can just right click, refresh, the data updates. And what we want to do now is build the reporting, the front end of this, the stuff that you're going to see, the meat. You see, we're going to turn data into information. One of those things I absolutely love to do. Now, what we're going to cover here is the application of what's called a sum if formula. So for anyone watching this who's very Excel savvy, you've probably already run with this and built the whole tool. You just needed the idea of how to develop the data. But if you're not used to using Excel or you don't use it that often, some of the stuff you're going to learn right now is so valuable. You know, I learned about 5 different programming languages just by starting with Excel formulas. Just by learning this, you're going to learn some really good key concepts. So what we want to do here is we want the current prices to the dollar for each of these coins, or for any coin that I type in here. So for example, if I was to put something like EOS in here, or it's already down there, but if I was to put EOS in here, I wanted to update automatically the price for EOS. So what we need to do is what's called a sum if formula. So to do that, we hit equals sum if and open bracket. Now you'll notice there's this little syntax down here. It's saying, what do I need to look at? And then with the criteria to find what you want. And when I find what you want, what do you want me to sum up for you? And so what we wanted to do is to look at this range over here, find Bitcoin, and when it does, we wanted to then sum up the US dollar, which is column N over here, the price to the dollar. So we could do volume, we could do market cap. You know, I really encourage you guys, once you know how to do this, build a tool and send it to me. Email it at admin@cryptowizards.net. Show me what you've built and made. I'd be really, really excited to see that. So what we want to do is go over to the data tab, highlight column B. I'm going to hit F4 to fix that column. So it'll put little dollar signs there. That means if I drag the formula from right to left, it's not going to drag to the wrong column. It's going to fix to that column. And then I need to hit comma. And after I've hit comma, I want to go back to the summary tab because now it's asking for, okay, after the comma, what criteria do I need to find? Now I'm just going to get rid of this word summary and I'm going to link it to Bitcoin. Now this time I'm going to hit F4 again, F4 again, and F4 again. You'll see that dollar sign by column B. That again means if I drag this formula anywhere, it's always going to look up to column B, but it's going to let me move around freely on the rows. So it won't change the column, but it'll allow me to be very mobile with the rows. So once I've done that, I can again just get rid of this summary over here. Sorry, it's put it in there again. After then I need to hit comma. So once I hit comma, it's like, okay, well, what range do I want to sum? So go back to the data tab, scroll over to the right. So column N, highlight column N, again, hit F4, close bracket and enter. Now this is really cool because it's found Bitcoin. It's returned the price for Bitcoin. If I now write Ethereum in there, it gives me the price automatically for Ethereum. Now it's not updating the price, it's just getting the price from the data. If I wanted to update the data, I'd need to right click and hit refresh. Sorry, I just hit Control Z or undo to go back to Bitcoin. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to copy that and then Alt ESV. I'm going to paste special values because I want to keep a record of what Bitcoin was. Because now I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go to my data, right click anywhere, hit refresh. And you can see the data is updated. When I go to the summary, you can see the price has changed. Bitcoin is now 3419 and the snapshot I just hard coded there is 3418. So how cool is that? Now here's the cool thing. If you fixed your columns, etc. correctly, you should be able to now just drag this formula down. And for any coins you hold or type in here, it will automatically look up the price for you. How cool is that? Now there is a different formula we could have used to do this. It's called the VLOOKUP, but for me, this is actually the cleanest way to do it with this data. Okay, cool. So we've done quite a lot here now already. We've already got prices, but we're not done yet. We need to get into the formatting. You see, I'm a little bit crazy when it comes to stuff like this. I don't like messiness. I like things to be neat and tidy. I want to get to something that looks nice and clear like this. It looks like a dashboard. So I want to show you how to do that. The first thing I want you to do is click up at the very top left of your spreadsheet and go to Home. And you'll see here we want to align everything in the middle of the cells in terms of its height, so that when I expand a row like Bitcoin, you can see everything's in the middle. If I go back there and put it to the top, it'll be at the top. If I go there, it's at the bottom. I like things nice and centered. So that's the first thing we want to do. Now, bear in mind that I initially trained as an accountant, so I'm also quite funny about how we show numbers. So what you want to do is highlight all of these here, and a quick way to just get these to look a little bit better is to right click and click on this little comma over here. However, that's still not good enough for me. I still want this to look better. I want it to show that it's to the dollar. And if there's ever a negative number, I want it to show with brackets around it. I want it to look really, really neat. So what I'm going to do is right click, go to Format Cells. When you do that, go to Number and Custom. So when you're on Custom, you can scroll to the top up here. So you'll see this menu of all these options. This one over here looks pretty good. Now what I want you to do is put some brackets here, and I'm going to tell you why. Before the semicolon, this is the code that says show this as a positive number. After the semicolon, this is the code that says show it as a negative number. So I'm going to put a bracket around the 0 there and a bracket there instead of a minus. Now I'm going to put another semicolon because the next thing I like to do is show a 0 with a dash. So what we do is we put a speech mark, dash, space, speech mark, and hit OK. Now, there's no decimal places, so what I need to do is right-click and just hit that decimal twice. Oh, and we forgot to put the $sign in. So right-click again, Format Cells, and this time at the very front of that number, I want to put a $sign, and over here I want to put a $sign. So when I hit OK, it's now got dollars, and if I have a minus figure, for whatever reason, it'll show a negative with brackets around it. If I have a 0, it'll just show a dash. So how cool is that? It's nice and neat. And we can breathe again. So this looks really good. Now the next thing I want to do is just widen all these cells. So what I'm going to do is highlight all of these, and I'm going to drag, just by clicking on one of the rows over here, I'm going to drag the formula open a bit. In fact, I'll close that a little bit over there like so. I want it even bigger than that. So I'm going to drag it a bit more, and I'm going to delete some of these coins down here because I'm just going to pretend like I don't own that many coins, which unfortunately I own a lot more than that. Unfortunately, because of the market. So what we want to do now is just center this in the middle. So I'm just going to center that in the middle over there, and I'm going to delete this. So now we have some much better looking data. And again, I can punch in Ethereum here. It'll show me Ethereum, etc. Nothing's changed in terms of the functionality, just the look. So the next thing I want to do over here is insert a column. So I'm going to insert a column here, and I'm going to collapse that a bit. Now, I don't like all these grid lines. I don't like this looking like a spreadsheet. So I want to go to View and uncheck this grid lines mark here. So now there's no grid lines, but everything's a little bit in space. So what I want to do is highlight all these numbers and hit Control and highlight all this text, and right click, go Format Cells, Border, and choose a color border you want. I'm going to use gray, format it on the outside of the border and the inside, and hit OK. And now we've got borders. So the next thing I want to do is give it some background color. So I'm going to highlight that, go to Home, and just select this light yellow for now. And I'm going to do the same over here. Select this light yellow for now. The same with current up here. How did we have it before? Okay, I did a very, very similar thing. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to select that. In fact, I'm going to copy this formatting. I'm going to paste Special Alt-ES-T to paste the format. And then I'm going to center that over here. So you can paste special by right-clicking or by going up to Home. I think it's paste over here. Then you go paste special. So you can use a mouse, but don't use your mouse. Like, force yourself to learn the keyboard. You'll save a lot more time. Okay, so there we go. Now we've got our prices looking, I'm going to widen that a bit, a heck of a lot better. So now what we want to do is have an area for snapshot. So what I'm going to do is copy that. I'm going to click over here and Control V, paste it there. I'm going to delete all of this. I'm going to change the color of all of this to gray. And we're going to call this snapshot. This is where we're going to be able to automatically copy all of this data. I don't know why I have Monero twice, by the way. Let's delete that. This is where we're going to be able to copy all of this and paste special values in here automatically just by hitting the camera icon. So if we go back to this model here, you can see when I click the camera, it automatically copies this and pastes it into the snapshot for me. So that's what we need to do here. We need to make this copy and automatically paste over here. The other thing I want to do is just widen this a bit here. I'm going to copy snapshot. I'm going to paste it down here. I'm going to widen this row and I'm going to call this total holding value because we're going to need a total in there. I'm going to go to home and left align that and maybe just indent it out a little bit. And in fact, these guys over here, I'm going to go home and I'm going to indent them out a little bit too, so they're not right on the border. Okay, so one of the things you need to do is save this as a macro-enabled workbook. So when you go to File and save it as whatever name you want to call it. In the drop-down, select macro-enabled workbook. I'm going to go and do that real quick. Okay, I've just called it Portfolio Tracker, saved it as a macro-enabled workbook, in other words, XLSM, because we are going to use macros. Okay, so now what we want to do is create a column for change. So I'm going to copy that. I'm just going to call this change. And that's literally just going to be equal to whatever the current is minus the snapshot. And I'm going to copy that and paste special Alt ESF for formulas. And of course, there's no change because that number's the same. But if I put that to 5, it'll tell me how much that number changed by. So that's the change. The other thing that we need to get in is the current quantity we own and the holding. So let's do that real quick. Now with the quantity, I want to copy this column, the yellow one, not for any reason other than it's going to be manually updated. And so for any quantities you hold, you can actually put in the coins you own and the quantities you hold when you're doing this. You don't have to do it exactly how I'm doing it, but I'm just going to go back here and copy whatever quantities I used for this example. And I'm going to paste them in, paste special values. You can just go in and type the quantities that you actually own. Now, one of the issues is I don't want dollar signs on this. So I'm going to right click, go format cells. I'm going to go to number custom and I'm going to get rid of these dollar signs over here, hit OK. I'm also going to put in a lot more decimal places. So right click and just click this so I have a lot more decimals. The other thing is the writing's very small. So let's just control and highlight all of these. So I'm holding control, by the way, to select specific cells. And I want to go to home and maybe just make these a bit bigger, maybe size 14. Yeah, that looks much better. It looks much more like a dashboard. Same thing here with the headings, size 14. And then finally, I just want the total holding value. So what I want to do is copy this column here, the gray one. So that's going to just be quantity multiplied by whatever the current price is. That's going to be my total holding value. So let's just make this say holding over here. The other thing we need is a total for the total holding value. So I'm going to click down here. I'm going to copy that cell and I'm going to go Alt equals, and that will automatically do a sum formula to sum up my whole holding value over here. I'm also going to right click on this. I don't need this window over there. So this is very useful. Now I'm going to hit Control B to make that bold. You can also make something bold by going home and then B. And now we have something that's actually looking really cool. So if I go over to data and hit right click and refresh, we can see that it's automatically shown the changes. Here's the latest price. Here's the snapshot we hard coded in, and here are the changes. So we've literally just built something that already is going to save us so much time, but that's not good enough. We want to stick a crypto kitty or a footballer or whatever you want to stick on here, that when you click that picture, it's going to automatically update for you. We don't want to have to go here, right click, refresh. Even that is too much for us. We want to automate it even more. We also want to put a little camera to take a snapshot and automatically copy over the current prices if we want to take a snapshot of them over here. Now, we've already covered a lot in this video, so we'll do all that stuff in the next video. I hope you're getting a lot of value from this. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.